So I wanted to start this video off first with Dro, with the news of Dro, because it's already confirmed, it's official that
Yeah,
he signed for PSG. He decided to betray Barca, decided to betray Flick's confidence, and chose money. To be honest, that's the truth. He chose more
just real
money.
quick though. He betrayed you, brother, because you got his jersey. You got his custom made jersey, bro.
I know, dude. It's crazy because when I wanted to get his jersey, I went to the website and
Yeah,
his name was not a it was not an option yet. So then I had to go in there and custom made it and put Dro in there, bro.
I
And then he
remember
does
though. I
this.
saw it.
Yeah, this. So I personally had high hopes for him. I thought he was the next most talented Barca player coming up through the academy, through Barca's youth academy. But whatever, I mean, at the end of the day, this is, in my opinion, it's a Moriba 2.0. I kind of wanted to talk about it because I think there's a lot of layers into this. The whole thing that happened. And one of the first layers is that this isn't the first time that PSG has been snooping into Barca's youth academy and trying to steal their talent. They first did it with Xavi Simons.
Right.
Xavi Simons was at that time he was a highly regarded player. And they were even saying that he was the most talented player to come through the academies after Messi at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And then PSG went in. They convinced, right? They convinced his party, the agent, the family, and he decided to join for more money. And look what happened to him, right? A waste of talent, in my opinion. And then they tried doing it with Lamine Yamal as well. They tried doing it with Lamine Yamal. Xavi had a lot to do with it to prevent that transfer from happening. He had to talk to Lamine Yamal. He promised him more playing time, that he was going to debut him, and to just wait for Barca, which Lamine Yamal ultimately chose Barca, which is good. And at this time, dude, this is basically the third time in a matter of like 10 years, right, or so, that PSG have been trying to steal Barca's talented youth. Um, but yeah, I wanted to get your take into it, because I wanted to just ask you, what do you think Barca could have probably done differently? What could they do differently moving forward to maybe prevent other teams from just snatching your talented youth for such cheap money?
Hmm.
Because let's not forget, there's other teams, for example, right, like the Brazilian teams, that are over there charging Barca 60 million for Vitor Roque, and he was 18 years of age, and yet Barca are coming over here only charging 8.6 or 8.2 million. So that, and then Deco, what the hell was Deco doing, right? During that time, Drug turned 18 at the beginning of January, so he was over there chasing another Portuguese fellow mate, a João Cancelo, whom we really didn't need. And from what I remember, Flick asked for a center back, not a fullback, and then PSG came in and just snatched him up. But yeah, anyways, what do you think? Your whole take on this?
So let me start off with saying with the situation regarding Dro. I remember that I was reading some reports and Barcelona were stating that they were going to go ahead and pretty much automatically renew Dro when he was 18, right? Or they were going to go ahead and renew him. Now I don't know what happened, right? Because Barcelona, Laporta came out and he said that everything was pretty much set into agreement, and that is the reason why they kind of took it personal, right? Because Dro came in, I think once he's turned 18, I think the player's agent, and as well as the player's parents, kind of like agreed and other things. In this case, being the fact that they wanted him to leave. Right. So real quick, I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know if like how you mentioned, I don't know if maybe Deco slept on it, or I don't know if simply, Dro said like, hey, you know what, things changed. I no longer want to be here. Who knows? I will say that it sucks though, right? Because how you mentioned, right? This is not the first time that PSG comes and steals a talented player, right? In this case, it was Dro. I remember, bro, when I saw Shami Simmons coming into the academy and I was seeing him playing, and I said, "Man, Xavi Simons looks really good." I was actually excited to see Xavi Simons come in. He reminded me a lot of at the time of Diego Alcantara, right? And PSG got him, and we know what happened, right? He pretty much became a lost, not a lost cause, I would say, but I don't think he's lived up to his full potential, right? And then we can go ahead and kind of sometimes even talk about Alex Moriba, another player that both you and I liked, right? I remember that we both liked and we said, man, this dude looks really good. He kind of gives some similarities of that of Pogba, right? And at the time, let's not forget that Coman pretty much debuted Alex Moriba, right? So it was the same situation of this with Flick, of that with Coman, right? Then obviously Alex Moriba took his turn, and then everything went downhill for him. Even himself, he has said that he regrets leaving Barcelona, right? But we can go ahead and also talk about other players that Barcelona have offloaded, right? Because a lot of people forget that Cucurella played and came to the academy of Barcelona. Um, that's just one example, right? Because we talk, the only reason I focus on him is because he's made it big at Chelsea, right? There's players that Barcelona have offloaded, Thiago Alcantara as well, Rafinha Alcantara, and they've made it into bigger teams. But I think that their situation was a little bit different, right? They took a personal decision to say, hey, you know what? I know that right now this current Barcelona team is stacked, so let me go ahead and leave. But when you look at situations like Dro, Alex, Xavi Simmons, and Alex Moriba, you can go ahead and say that the decision is pretty much either is being influenced by money, which in my opinion it is, as well as agents and as well as parents, right? I don't think that Dro did the right thing by leaving Barcelona. And just real quick, the reason why is because I've always said this, dude. Look, I've always said this. If you are a young player of the age of Dro, the most important thing I understand is for you to play, right? But then you also have to be truthful to yourself and honest with yourself and say, hey, I am going to a PSG team who, yes, has a great coach, but then again, are they going to play me? Are they going to give me more minutes that of Barcelona is currently giving me? Because right now, Barcelona is going through this cycle where they're kind of promoting young players and they're giving the trust to young players, right? But when you look at PSG, I'm not saying they're not either, right? Because maybe their mentality has kind of changed. But you look at the players that they have and the age that they have, they're stacked. So for me, I
Yeah.
feel like, hey, you have to be truthful and knowing if the team that you're joining is actually going to make you better or is pretty much going to stop you from playing anyway. So at the end of the day, what are you really doing? You are chasing the money. That's just my opinion. So for me, I'm not happy about it. It sucks. And I mean, it just sucks to see him go because I also agree with you. I think he was a very talented player and I think he could have been really good for Barcelona.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this too, but supposedly Luis Enrique was personally involved in convincing Joe to join PSG.
Hmm.
And to be honest, I don't know what Luis Enrique was trying to achieve right there because if he really does care about Barca, then why would he try to remove one of the most talented players coming up through their academy? Doesn't really make any sense. And then also another thing that I wanted to ask you, when was the last time that Luis Enrique took a young player under his wing and made him into a really good player? I don't
Yeah, I agree
remember
with you. Hmm.
because at Barca he did not debut at anybody, and besides, no, I think Sergio Roberto was already playing for Barca when he got there.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Besides that, I mean, I don't remember Luis Enrique debuting any youngsters through the academy when he was at Barcelona, and then at PSG. If you really look at the players that were important for his Champions League win, with the treble win, what's that? I forget. It's hard to pronounce that winger's name from
Borriskelia, whatever his name is, the
they bought him
Georgian
from
dude.
that. Yeah, they bought him from Napoli, right?
Right.
Dembele, they bought him from Barca, right? Vitinha came through Porto's academy. So I mean, I look at Luis Enrique, and I don't remember. Oh, I don't see a player that you're like, okay, yeah, that's Luis Enrique. That's a player that he debuted. He put his trust on him, and he became a pro player thanks to him. I don't. So I really don't know what he's trying to do with Joe, to be honest. And then another thing too is, well, I don't know if you saw the video where he was signing,
Yeah.
and then Luis Enrique says, "Oh, right here is a player that's signing 50 assists and 50 goals." It's like, what are you trying to say right there? I honestly don't know I honestly don't know what he was trying to do or what was trying to get out of this whole operation. To be honest, if he manages to bring up Joe and actually, make him into like a really good player, then kudos to him, right? But I don't remember when was the last time Luis Enrique did that. So I think I agree with you. I don't think Joe made the right choice. I think there's no place like Barca in terms of developing young players, in my opinion. Barca, Ajax,
Yeah.
Dortmund, those are teams that are very good at developing young players and working with young players. Bayern too, to be honest, to a certain extent.
Bayern as
But
well.
but PSG, not really. I mean, yeah, they're working with some youngsters now, but that's just barely now. Historically, PSG have not been good with working with young players, developing young players. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it was money motivated. I think the players and the agents have a lot to do with it. Um, and I did want to also mention a little bit about Deco because I think, like I mentioned to you earlier, right? He was over there chasing João Cancelo, his Portuguese fellow mate, and then he just totally slept on this one, bro. Because I think, like I mentioned, Dro turned 18 early January, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
And then, if Deco really saw the potential that we all could see on him, you would probably try to lock him in. If Flick was already promoting him, bypass the B team, Athletic B, straight to the A team, you gotta have a little bit more security, bro. You gotta go ahead and be like, hey, we're gonna put you in the 18, but we need you to sign an agreement that once you turn 18, you're gonna sign a new deal, and that no matter what club comes to you, you're gonna turn them down, and then that way you kind of secure your work as well. Because Flick is frustrated, bro, because he's probably thinking like, hey, like I trust in him, I gave him the trust over other youngsters, I chose him, right? And there's other players in Athletic B that are probably like, hey, why does this guy get to go straight to the A team and I get no chances, right?
Yeah,
And then, as soon as the team comes knocking on the door, he just, bam, decides to leave, as soon as the team comes with more money. So I think Flick was frustrated about that. And I think Barca need to start looking like, hey, we cannot be letting go of these youngsters that we have that are talented for such easy money. Because, like I
I
mentioned to
agree.
you, 8.6 or 8.2, whatever they got for him, is cheap, bro. You have teams out there who are selling their youngsters between the ages of 18 to 20 for 50 plus. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it's frustrating, like I said, especially for me because I got his jersey, bro. I don't like that. So now I have his jersey just hanging in there for no freaking reason. But whatever.
That sucks, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, that does suck. But anyways, I guess we can go ahead and move on to the. I kind of want to just talk a little bit about the Liga because the game against Real Oviedo, right? Oviedo.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I know.
Barca struggled in the first half. In the first 45
Yeah.
minutes, they looked kind of tired, looked sluggish. And based on that performance that you saw in the first 45 minutes, which it did get better in the second half. How do you think they're gonna do tomorrow against Copenhagen? In the Champions League for the last match.
Well, regarding that game, bro, we just kind of like, talk about it just very slightly. Barcelona, like you said, struggled in the first 45 minutes. I saw the game. They struggled in the first 45 minutes. And then in the second half, like you also mentioned, they got better, right? I think Barcelona, Flick made some changes in the first half. He gave rest to certain players like Kunde. He gave players to Balde, for example, right? We didn't see Pedri because he's injured. So we saw Casado playing. We saw Olmo, whatever, Fermin, etc., etc., etc. But that being said, Barcelona were kind of struggling to open up the spaces. Second half came in. Barcelona still were struggling to almost score that first goal, right? The opening goal. And then from then, the teams, every time they get scored on, obviously anybody's going to open up. Barcelona were able to find the gaps. So regarding Copahan, there's so much at stake, right? Like you mentioned, right? That you didn't want Barcelona to go ahead and play two more matches given the stacked schedule that they already do have and pretty much unnecessary games if they do fail to make it to the top eight. But that being said, now though, is Barcelona, even if they make it to the top eight, they can still go ahead and face any of those teams who don't make it to the top eight, right? Now, can we go ahead and comfortably say, oh yeah, Barcelona are going to go ahead and smash Copenhagen in the last game of the Champions League? Are they going to stop struggling and finish out, and put on a dominant performance? Yeah, they might, or they might not be able to, right? Who knows? All I know for sure is Barcelona need to go ahead and win to avoid those two unnecessary games. But even then, if they do go ahead and beat Copenhagen, they need to go ahead and make sure they kind of smash them because they need to go ahead and secure that top eight position. Now,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, am I comfortable saying Barcelona is going to win? No. Am I, let alone saying Barcelona is going to smash Copenhagen? Just given Barcelona's recent performance, especially how much they've been struggling in the Champions League. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I do see Barcelona maybe putting 3-2 games, three or two goals on against them. But then I don't know where Barcelona is gonna finish, and I just want to see what happens. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the main thing, dude, is to avoid those two unnecessary games in
Yeah,
February. Because not only that, but we also have to remember that Barca don't have Pedri, so Pedri's out.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, a knockout match is a knockout match, right? So the other team is going to try their best too. And you have the games in February. More games added to the schedule, right? More risk for injuries. Players getting more tired and whatnot. So I would say mainly to avoid those two unnecessary games. And yeah, I think Barca could probably win. Maybe by 2 goal difference. I think they could probably do that. But then again, it all depends on the other teams, how much goals the other team is scored. They have the same amount of points as Barca do, right?
yeah,
So yeah, I think unfortunately Barca have not been too great in the Champions League in the group stage, so they find themselves in the situation because they obviously they tied up against, I remember, Brugge, right, 3-3. They lost against PSG. They lost against Chelsea. So of course, that's gonna take its toll, and that's the reason why you're in the situation you're in right now. I would want to say though, I think without this being said, all I know is that I just want Barca to face Arsenal, bro. That's all I know, and that's that's all I want. As long as Barca get Arsenal, bro, I'm good. And people might be saying, "Oh, you're crazy," but
No, I agree with
I'm
you.
being serious, bro. I'm being
I agree
serious.
with
I want
you.
Barca to get Arsenal,
I
if
was
not
gonna tell
City.
you real quick. I was gonna tell you they can still get Arsenal, right? Because let's say Barcelona failed to make it to the top eight, that means that they'll make it to the ninth, to from nine to 24 space. They can go ahead and still face one of the top teams in the top eight.
Yeah.
So with
Hmm.
that being said, yes, they can then go ahead and then face whoever makes it from like the last game into the top eight, plus who's already for sure guaranteed there. And I know two teams that come to the back of my head is Arsenal and Bayern Munich, right? Barcelona
Hmm.
can go ahead and face them. What I like for Barcelona to face Bayern or Arsenal, like you said, I agree with you 100%. I want that. I want Barcelona to go ahead and face Arsenal. The reason why is because as a Barcelona fan, I always want to see Barcelona where they really are at, right? And if Barcelona want to go ahead and say, hey, we're the top team or we're our top team right now, we need to be able to compete against the top teams. For me right now, I will say the favorites to win the Champions League is equally between Arsenal and Bayern. That's just my opinion. Right now, everything can change, of course. Weeks in, weeks out, everything changes. But the way those two teams play, in my opinion, they play really good. So I would
Hmm.
like to see that game. I would also like to see, like how you mentioned, Man City come back. I mean, Pep facing Man City because that means we can possibly see Pep Guardiola come back to the Camp Nou, and see maybe his reaction, whatever. That just kind of goes more into detail. But with that being said, maybe even a PSG game would be exciting, dude. Who knows? A Chelsea
Yeah.
rematch. There's a lot of games that teams that Barcelona can face, and I just want Barcelona to face in my opinion, the toughest team. Because if
Yeah.
Barcelona can get through a tough team right now, later on down the line, bro, what's gonna happen? Let's be honest.
I agree with you. I think we are Barca fans, so we want to see those games. We don't want to shy away from those games,
No.
or for some reason, we want to say Barca should avoid this or should avoid this team. Nah, I think Barca. If you really want to see where they're at, I think Arsenal, City, Chelsea, PSG, Bayern. I think those are good matches for Barca. So I would prefer Arsenal, to be honest, because it would be a hell of a tie. Both
Yeah.
teams will open up. Both teams are gonna attack. So yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. But yeah, what do you think? Because I know Fleek rested some players, and I do think that unfortunately, Ferran is gonna come back, dude.
Did he
So
start some though? Your nightmare, huh?
yeah,
The dude who
I
traumatized you.
I think he's gonna start him because I think Lewandowski's. I think Lewa played the whole full 90 minutes. I think
Yeah, he
so.
did.
I have a feeling he's gonna start Fish, the sardine. So
I think he'll start him the second half though, given the fact that he's just coming back from an injury though.
I hope he doesn't start him at all. I think that's even better, right? But I was gonna tell you that I know we don't have Pedri, so
Yeah.
I think the lineups it's probably it's not gonna be any different. I do want to see if he starts Firmino Olmo or if he starts both. That one I am a
Yeah.
little bit curious about.
Did you
But
like Casado's performance on Sunday's game? Just real quick, you think leading up to this game, you think he should start?
I would start Bernal.
But
I,
I'll
I would
start
start Bernal.
Casado.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think they're both in the same situation right now. Both of them,
Yeah.
where they both need some playing time. They need more confidence. Um, but I would say mostly Casado because but Casado's not coming out from a bad injury.
No?
He's unfortunately just being benched by Fleek. Bernal is coming back from a serious injury, so maybe Fleek is trying to take him slow. But to be honest, bro, like I'm never dissatisfied with Casado's performances. Yeah, sometimes like towards the end of the game he may lose some legs. But I do think that in general he's always running, he's always asking for the ball, doesn't shy away from the ball. So whichever one plays, bro, to be honest, I'm happy. I just don't want to see Ferran there, dude. That's it.
It's funny because I think that people don't appreciate the work ethic of Casado because it's the same
Yeah.
similar thing with the work ethic of Fermin. We can sometimes judge Fermin's performances, meaning sometimes when he
Yeah.
shoots, sometimes he doesn't really fail to penetrate the last, the third box, the final third. But something that we cannot question Fermin's, we cannot question Fermin is his work ethic. I think work
Yeah,
ethic is really good for Fermin as well as Casado. That's what I'm trying to say. So with that being said, it's like I would like to see Fermin and Olmo playing together, but if not, then I would also like to see the formation that he kind of played on Sunday with Casado and De Jong in the middle, and then maybe Olmo up top as a cam. That's just my opinion. Let's see what happens, bro. Because like I said, it's an important game just for the simple fact that we're gonna go ahead and see what Barcelona are placed in in the next Champions League game. Round. I'm sorry, like who they can possibly face, depending on where they land.
true.